We hit the record button so that we can keep a copy of this. But
and can you allow me to share if I want to show you a short video presentation?
I'm going to make you a co-host, and I think that will allow you. Are you able to share now?
Yeah. It's written the host disabled. Oh, yeah. Right now, okay, that's fine.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, I have a short video here.
Okay, I'll when I get to you, we'll get started with that. Okay, good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us. It's an honor to have a whole bunch of different special speakers here to celebrate our annual Thanks for Giving. What's unique about this year, as even though this year has been a challenging year for many people, what's unique is we get to have people from everywhere. This has been something I've wanted for a long time, to have Doron speak, and every time I always catch him just after he left. So this time I get to catch him before he comes next time. So we're honored to have him. Today's event is our annual Thanks for Giving event. It's our annual event where we get to thank all of you guys for being supporters, for making an impact, for making Friendship Circle able to do what it does. We're, as you know, pairing high school students with kids that have special needs. And even though it's been a challenging year for many, we haven't allowed the COVID-19 to hold us back from doing programming. So we've been able to launch a whole bunch of programs. This year itself, we did the virtual Sunday circles, young adult circle, Friends at the Park has just started now with, we're testing the waters with doing some in-person stuff. The friendship calls have been going on. We launched a parent support program where parents of the kids with special needs can network with one another. We're going to be doing an online winter camp, and we did the bedtime stories. So we've had a whole bunch of programming going on for the kids with special needs. And thanks to our program director and volunteer coordinator, Tamar Bronstein and Maddie Bennett, we've been able to do some programming for the volunteers as well. And as the year goes on, our plan is to do additional programming as well. As I mentioned before, this year has been a challenging year. Aside for COVID-19 being a challenge, preventing a lot of people from being able to do programming in person, Friendship Circle for many of the kids has been a place where they have been able to get away from the isolation that they feel at home and be able to go somewhere where somebody is celebrating them and enjoying them and appreciating them. But by no choice of their own, they were forced to stay at home, be unable to connect with other people. At Friendship Circle, we didn't allow that to be something to hold them back, and we found ways to connect with the kids and to keep them engaged. One of the sad things from this year, unrelated to COVID-19, is we lost one of our participants, Zach Rosenfeld, who's been an active participant in Friendship Circle since he was 5 years old. He tragically passed away a couple months ago. And we remember him, and we'll be doing we launched the new program, an annual Zach Day for the young adults, where there'll be one of Zach's favorite things was making cookies, and we're going to be celebrating an annual cookie day in Zach's memory. This year, it's going to be each person doing for themselves, but in future years, the idea is they're going to be making cookies and then distributing them to other people so that they can learn more about who Zach was and learn more about Friendship Circle. Before we get to our featured speakers tonight, I'd like to start off with having a couple people just share their experiences with Friendship Circle. So I'm going to start with Shira Fatornik, who's been volunteering with Friendship Circle since she was in 8th grade, a dedicated volunteer, really an amazing girl. And we'll have her share a couple words of what Friendship Circle has meant to her. Shira.
Hi, I'm Shira. I'm a junior in high school, and like as you said, I've been volunteering with Friendship Circle since before I started 8th grade. And I'd say the most meaningful part of Friendship Circle for me has been the relationships. Not only the relationships with the other volunteers, because it's a social opportunity, but also with my buddies. Even though they're all different ages and different abilities, and you might not think that you have a lot to relate to them, it's really a huge privilege to be able to go to Friendship Circle and to just immerse yourself into somebody else's world and to be like, I am here for you. And you get to really watch them blossom in front of your eyes. Especially for me, I have often been with buddies who are less verbal or who need more support. And so I've kind of learned that like typical is not always necessary. And I've been able to start out by being like, oh, I don't know if I can do this, or it's always a little awkward at first, but then you watch them build their trust with you and you learn them. You learn like, oh, this eye movement means that they want me to go pick that up, or they're doing this with their hands, they need a snack. So like you really learn your buddies and you really build a connection with them. And I think it helps you relate to them, and I think the family feels so supported, and that's amazing. Yeah.
Thank you, Shira. I think that Shira encapsulates in a few words really what Friendship Circle does for many of the kids and really for many of the volunteers as well. One of the things I should have mentioned is please make sure your Zoom view is on speaker view. That way, when in the next section where we're going to have two people on screen, you can see them both and focus on them. You can always flip around between the different views if you'd like, but choose the speaker view. That way you can see everybody. So for our next speakers, I'd like to have Will and Amy Timmons and Joshua Barkin speak. And let me just spotlight them. And so what you'll hear from Will and Amy, and you'll hear from Joshua, is what's unique about Friendship Circle is that relationships are built, and the relationships that are built are not just one-time relationships. They're relationships that go on for sometimes it's a year, sometimes 2 years, sometimes 4 years, and really for many of these relationships, it goes on long after they graduate from high school and go off to college and then come back. I still remember one of our first volunteers. He had a buddy that he after he had gone off to college, he came back and they went to the movies together. And the kid with special needs fell asleep in the middle of the movie, and he's sitting there thinking, I'm here in the movie theater with my buddy who fell asleep, but I'm here because we're friends and we have this relationship, and this relationship continued. It really is still continued to this day. What's also special about this relationship between Joshua Timmons and Joshua Barkin is that the Timmons recently moved out of the area to Stockton, which is very sad for me because I enjoyed seeing them in person, but I understand many people have to move. But at the same time, they're still able to be connected. And that's really special and beautiful to see. And I'll let you hear from them directly what the relationship has meant for each of them. So we'll start with Amy and Will, and then we'll go to Joshua.
Hi, everyone. I'm Amy.
And I'm Will.
And our son is Joshua. Joshua has several conditions which manifest themselves in the way of not being able to read social cues, and it's very hard for him to develop relationships. So we started him at Friendship Circle when he was 6, and we were super nervous because we had tried many other programs, and it always ended up with a phone call coming to have us pick him up. However, it has been an absolute joy for him, and it has taught him what friendship is. And short term, it's great. It's joy, it's connections, it's been very helpful. But long term, it's a gauge for our son to understand what friendship really means. typically children who are neurodiverse, like our son, are vulnerable. They're vulnerable to influences by their peers. And he does have friends online that sometimes aren't the best influence. And what we're able to do to say to him is, does this friend make you feel the same way that you are when you're with Josh? And he will think about it and realize, no, they're not. And for him, it becomes super important to understand that gauge, because as he goes out into the world and develops those relationships, if he doesn't understand what a healthy friendship is and a healthy connection is, it sets him down the wrong path. And he absolutely thinks of Josh as one of his best friends. And he feels and understands that he can make friends and connections on his own terms, and that he doesn't have to conform or be like everybody else. He gets to be himself. And self-acceptance based upon who you are and not who everybody else expects you to be is a game changer. And it has meant the absolute world to our son, who looks forward to the interactions, who likes to talk a lot about them. And I think the interaction with Joshua just has changed his life and has made him realize that, one, he is worthy of friendship and worthy of caring. Two, to understand what it means to have friends and the right connections. And three, I think just that sense of community overall has been incredible for him. He had a lot of self-esteem issues, and time he's able to come back and we point him out the positive things, and Friendship Circle has been a highlight of his life.
Thank you,
It's hard
Amy.
to follow that up. But I would say one of the other, all of that, also one of the wonderful things about Friendship Circle is I think many of us end up having a very isolated, focused experience, and our children end up in these very small worlds. And one of the wonderful things about Friendship Circle, I realize that for Josh and many of the other mentors, it's a great experience to develop or have experience with empathy and understanding all the different kids they interact with. But I think it's also good for the kids to have that same experience, that it's not just them and the mainstream people, that they get to meet people who are similar to them or who have completely different experiences than them. And I think having that experience in a nurturing environment is wonderful.
Well, thank you, Will and Amy. It's beautiful to hear the impact that Friendship Circle has had on your family. Now let's hear Josh's perspective on what it's done for him and his relationship with the other Josh.
Yeah, so my name is Joshua Barkin, and I started some Friendship Circle my summer after 7th grade. And it was also my first time, so I was nervous as well. But when I met Josh, we had like an instant connection because we both loved like Pokemon and like fantasy games and stuff. So we would like spend all our day just like playing these imaginary games that he made up. And they were like really, really interesting games. And I would say like I've gone way more creative with Joshua because he just has this like whole creative mindset that most people don't have. For example, like every time he would come, he would either bring a paper robot or he would make one. And it was just like insane to think like how you can make all these things with just paper. But he was able to do it, and he was really able to bring that to Friendship Circle. And I learned so much from him, right? Just from like, not just creativity, but also like I became more empathetic towards people, right? Understanding that, when someone's angry, not to get defensive, but to understand why they're getting angry and kind of, understand where they're coming from and how to like resolve issues. That was a huge thing I learned. And also I like gained a community through Friendship Circle. I'm like friends with a lot of volunteers there. I'm friends with a lot of buddies. I'm friends with Josh, and we're still playing like Minecraft together. Like we played last night. And it's really fun. And the more like he learns, I also learn. And we have like, really great conversations. When we were back in person, we would have like these deep philosophical like conversations about stuff that like I never knew at his age, but I found it so fascinating that he did. And we just had like really great conversations. Yeah. You're muted, by the way.
Sorry, now I'm unmuted. And I'm happy to hear the impact that it's had on you as well. And really that's what Friendship Circle is all about. It's about impacting the families, impacting the volunteers, impacting really the community as a whole. And, you know, over the past, I think it's 18 years since Friendship Circle began, we've seen the community as a whole transform and become more of an accepting place. And, you know, that's the biggest joy that I have, is really seeing everybody grow and be more accepting and more inclusive. Okay, we're now going to go to our featured presentation. Just hold on a second. And I'm going to, how do I do this? Here we go. And for this part, we're going to, just one more second, sorry. Trying to get this all. There we go. So a number of years ago, I was meeting with a Friendship Circle donor, and this donor told me about a facility in Israel called Ali Negev. And the way the donor presented it to me, he said, oh, they do what Friendship Circle does. So I figured it was an organization like ours that does similar things. Once I learned more about Ali Negev, I found out that Ali Negev is really something much larger and much greater than what Friendship Circle does. And we have a lot to learn from Ali Negev. About 5 years ago on a trip to Israel, I was honored to be taken to Ali Negev by the amazing Avnet, who's on this call. And my wife and I really got a tour of what Ali Negev is all about. And it's really a beautiful, peaceful place with such warmth and love. And I'll let Doron share a little bit more about it. But it's an all-embracing place of people from all backgrounds, all needs, and really all religions. And I found that to be one of the most fascinating things. When we were there in the lobby, there was an Arab woman who fainted, and in ran the Israeli medical personnel who took care of her. And watching that was one of the most amazing things to see. That here you are in a Jewish facility, an Arab woman, Israeli people, all working together, and and not looking at the differences, but really looking at each person as another human being. And that's really what Ali Negev is really a place that embraces and celebrates every person, and includes them regardless of who they are. Since then, I've been honored to hear General Doron Almog share his story as to why he founded Ali Negev and where it began. And like I mentioned before, there was a number of times where I would have wanted him to speak, and I only found out after he left. So this time I'm excited that we get to have him share some words today. Interviewing Doron will be Rabbi Nat Ezra of Congregation Beth Jacob in Redwood City. And Rabbi Ezra and his wife Mimi have become close friends of ours over the past 15 years, starting with their son Ethan participating in Friendship Circle as a participant, and then graduating on to becoming a volunteer, really an amazing volunteer. And now Ethan is a student at Villanova University in Haverford, Pennsylvania. Did I say that right?
I said Haverford University.
Okay. I'm mixing it all up, but
Villanova's down the street.
Okay. So he's in Haverford, and he's really just an amazing kid. And it's amazing to see how Ethan has grown over the years. Rabbi Ezra has been an active member of the community, championing programs for people with special needs, starting with his synagogue, and really beyond that, really bringing the community together to being able to serve programs and be able to grow the programs in this community. And his community has also partnered with Ali Negev with a lot of the work that they do there. I'm going to share a short bio about Doron Almog as well. And I know that I won't be doing justice, but I'm doing my little part. IDF Major General Doron Almog is a decorated veteran and altruist who received the Israel Prize in 2016. Major General Almog founded Al Negev, a state-of-the-art rehabilitative center in the Negev, one of Jewish National Fund's key partners in making Israel more inclusive. Al Negev is currently home to over 170 adults with disabilities, a number that will grow once the facility is complete, and serves 12,000 children and young adults with disabilities each year. While in the IDF, he led an operational task force against the terrorist who murdered the Israeli sports team during the Munich Olympics, commanded the first force to land in Entebbe Airport during the 1976 rescue operation, and played a key role in the clandestine missions that rescued around 6,000 Jewish Ethiopians from refugee camps in Sudan. I'm honored to have both Rabbi Ezra and Doron join us for this discussion, and I hope you find it as uplifting and inspiring as I have in the past. And again, like I mentioned before, turn your computers to speaker view so that you can see them directly. And I'm unspotlighting myself instead of Rabbi Ezra. So let me put him back, and without further ado, how do I do that? Here we go.
Good. Well, you can hear me. Okay, there I am. It's odd seeing your face so large on a screen. I'm so happy to be able to facilitate discussion today and for everyone to meet Major General Doron Almog, who's become a dear friend and is such a visionary leader. I'll share as we begin this interview that I'm so indebted to Friendship Circle. As Rabbi Ezzy Schusterman said, our son Ethan began as a young man who attended the programs and received such love and kindness and support. And both Friendship Circle and Alei Negev Nachalat Eran, now known as Adi, are places that have changed the discussion and the perception of people with special needs. They're both places that have said we need not only to see, but to create connections and to treat with incredible dignity and love. And to see that sprouting up and the ripples of all of that fills me up. And it makes me so happy to support Friendship Circle in our community, to feel its blessings, and also to support Alei Negev Nachalat Eran, Adi, so that our people, our goal was, we want 50 people to go, way more than 50. We want to be partners in the vision of what's being built, and that's exciting. And we want our people to know people like Doron Almog. And that heart to heart, that person to person is just such a blessing. Doron, should we just start with the interview, or did you want to show your film?
Well, first of all, I would like to thank you for this conversation. Thank you for supporting us for many years. Thank you, Rabbi Annette Ezri and Rabbi Ezzy Schusterman, your wife, Mimi, the community, Nicole and Jeff Lance, Isabella, who volunteered. I see here also Ellen Fisher watching us, and many familiar people who visited us. Yes. Ellen and Barbara, thank you. And of course, Avnet, our representative in New York in the United States, who facilitate this evening. So thank you for supporting us. Thank you for the love. Thank you for loving Israel. I would love to see you continue visiting us, continue volunteering, continue enabling more partnership or strengthen the communication between your students and the community and disabled people in our community. We need you. So thank you. I'm ready for the interview.
Great.
Oh.
tell us a little bit about your background, parents, where they came from, their experience in the War of Independence, how you were raised, and how that upbringing shaped you.
My parents born here in Palestine under the British mandate. My mom 1929, my father 1927, and they had one dream, to have one day a Jewish state. That was their dream, and they were not religious. For my parents, the most important thing was one day to facilitate a Jewish state, a state of Israel. They were ready to sacrifice their life. And as a matter of fact, they did. The generation of my parents, the independent generation, we call it the silver plater. The silver plater is a poet, is a poem, a song that was written by Alterman on the generation of 48, our independence war. And Chaim Guri, another poet, wrote about this generation like Abraham sacrifices his son, or was ready to sacrifice his son. This generation born with the sword inside their heart, ready to sacrifice themselves every single minute. So asking about my childhood, there was one line along my childhood that the most important thing is the Jewish state, and we should be ready to give our life, to sacrifice our life for this state. And unfortunately, it happened to my generation. We thought after 67 war, the 6-day wars, we thought this is the last war. After so great victory in 6 days, we conquer Egypt, Syria, and Jordan. And the image was that the Arab afraid, and no more war will be launched against Israel. So I joined the military in 1969. I had a complaint to my parents. Why didn't you marry 3 years earlier to allow me to fight the 67 war? And as you know, our history, I fought since the first 6 months in military, many raids, many operations, hundreds. As a matter of fact, in my 35 years service, hundreds of military operations. I lost hundreds of friends, and I lost my brother. And the sacrifice, as a matter of fact, is the readiness to do the maximum effort to protect the only Jewish state in the world. But the sacrifice, it's not only readiness. Sacrifice is measured by action, by things we really do. And Rabbi Ezi Schusterman spoke about the friendship circle. In military, we call it comradeship. The comradeship, which is the readiness, as we say it in the special units, one for all for one. The readiness for each one in our community to assist, to help, to stretch his hand to his other comrades, to his friends. And in our values, the Judaism values, we say, "Ve'ahavta l'reacha kamocha," love your friends, love yourself. We say mutual responsibility. And I think this is the values of friendship circle, the values of your community. But here in Israel, we pay in blood, we pay in life.
Doron, if I could ask you to look at a particular moment of paying with life that I know shaped you. And as I've learned about your story, the piece of losing your brother in the Yom Kippur War, and what that story was and how it affected you and influenced you, for me has always been so meaning. Could you share that?
Of course. The Yom Kippur War started on Saturday, Yom Shabbat, October 6, 1973. We were surprised by brutal attack of the Syrian in the north, Egyptian in the south. I found myself fighting in the south of Israel. My brother, I was 22, my brother was 20. He was armor platoon commander in the 7th Brigade. I knew that he has no battle experience. I arrived to Yom Kippur War after 4 years service with many battles behind me. I worry to my brother. The rumors in my hometown said both of us were killed, me and my brother. On October 16, 1973, my parents were announced that my brother was killed. And at the end of they didn't know about me. As I said, the rumor said that I was killed as well. So they were waiting patiently to another announcement, maybe hoping that I'm alive. The end of the war, October 24, 1973, I arrived to telephone call home. My mom raised the telephone. That was not the cell age, no cell, no computers. And my first question was, what about Iran, my brother? She said, we lost Iran. We have no Iran anymore. I came home. There was no Shiva. You know, our Jewish custom to sit 7 days mourning. There were no Shiva. They were all buried in temporary cemeteries. As a matter of fact, 7 temporary cemeteries all over Israel. And the funeral happened 11 months later. So there was nothing to do at home. I continued to the Golan Heights. I found this burnt tank. I did my own investigation. I found these soldiers in hospitals. Shockingly, I learned to know that he was left behind. We are speaking about values, the values of friendship circle, of the Beit Jacob community, the Jewish values. In military, I was educated, I was indoctrinated. Never leave the wounded behind. You know, that was the big motto along my education. Shockingly, I discovered that my brother was left behind. He was shot by a Syrian tank. He was thrown outside, bleeding, pleading, not 1 day, not 2 days, not 3 days, not 4 days, not 5 days, not 6 days, 7 days. 7 days, and then he was evacuated, dead already. And I was so frustrated and so painful. You know, I remember myself running alone in the field and shouting his name, willing that he will come. He must come. It's unbelievable that he's not anywhere. And I did my oath near his burnt tank to continue staying in military as commander, as fighter, as soldier, and never ever leave a wounded soldier behind. That was my oath to my brother, to my parents, to myself, above all. And luckily I succeeded. You know, it's not really at my hand. It's about God, it's about luck. I faced so many battles and I lost soldiers and friends on my right, on my left, behind me. And I stay alive along all these battles, hundreds of battles on all Israeli fronts, in Lebanon, in Syria, in Jordan, in Egypt, in Sudan, Entebbe, far away from the state of Israel, clandestine operation, one by one, by one, by one. And luckily, I succeeded to make my oath, to stand on my oath to my bleeding brother, to never leave a wounded soldier behind. So, you know, if you ask me about one experience that shaped my life, this is the loss of my brother, the circumstances that left him behind, my angry, my frustration, my pain, the simple fact that he is continuing bleeding inside myself. And this is not controlled. I may dream about him, about evacuating him in Syria, landing with few helicopters with special unit that I'm commanding, driving at night, arriving to a Syrian camp, killing the guards, getting inside, arriving to empty room. So he is with me, and also another important point, you know, in battles you need a lot of courage. So I got the feeling along my military service that I have a guard. My brother is guarding me. He is my guardian, like Eran, my brother, saying, Doron, my brother, don't be afraid. Never be scared. Move forward. Do what is needed to do. Fight for the state of Israel. Fight for the Jewish people. You need to do killing, do it. You need to protect the state of Israel, do it. You need to evacuate hostages from Entebbe or from Sudan or from Lebanon, do it. Don't be afraid. I'm with you. I will protect you.
Doron, that's the story of how, and I think everyone on the screen feels it, how we transform our pain and our loss into meaning and into that which then drives us is such a powerful piece. And we'll come to it in a minute in terms of the founding of Alei Negev Nachalat Iran. But hearing you describe how that drove you, as well as feeling your brother's presence, No One Left Behind is a piece that so many of us grew up with as we reflect on Entebbe, the hostages in a foreign land, and the courage and the incredible initiative that it took to undertake this mission that you were part of. I know you were part of many missions. Can you share with us a little bit about that mission?
Yeah, Entebbe, the operation Entebbe was taken on the night of July 3rd and 4th. Started July 3rd and landed back in Israel in on July 4, the 200th anniversary of the United States. A week earlier to the operation, airplane jet of Air France company was hijacked by, at first, 4 terrorists who embarked in Athens and then hijacked the plane and continue bringing more terrorists to empower them in Algeria, and then landed in Entebbe, started negotiating with the state of Israel, asking the Israeli government to release 53 terrorist prisoners, fly them to Germany, and in return, the terrorists will free the Israeli hostages. The Israeli government at that time, headed by Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin, the government openly said, okay, we are ready to negotiate. The terrorists aim to kill the hostages one by one if they see some sign of refuse. So the Israeli government said, yes, we are ready. They started negotiating. The terrorists did a huge mistake 3 days before the operation. On Wednesday, the operation was on, as I said, July 3rd. That was Saturday. But Wednesday, a few days before, the terrorists released the non-Jews, let them fly from Entebbe to Paris. So as a matter of fact, first time we interrogated people who were also among the Israeli hostages in Entebbe. First time we got picture where the terrorists standing, what is the guarding procedure of the terrorist, and where the hostages are located. And then we started planning operation on Thursday. As a matter of fact, my soldiers, my unit told me the first day when we all heard about the hijack of the Air France plan, my soldiers said, Doron, take us to Entebbe, we'll do the job, we'll kill the terrorists, we need to fly, we need to go to Entebbe. So, you know, it's something of the DNA in special unit, going forward, finding the battle, initiate battles, don't wait. So Thursday, July 1st, we started planning. As a matter of fact, we got the order only Friday, July 2nd. We did 24 hours preparation. And then Saturday, 11 p.m. sharp, we landed in Entebbe. 53 minutes on the ground. We killed the 7 terrorists in the first minutes, and also about 30 Ugandan guards. And we succeed to rescue 105 Israeli hostages and bring them back home to the Jewish state. We need to remember that that was 3 years after the Yom Kippur War, after the agony, the suffer, the trauma of a surprise attack of the Egyptian and Syrian, after losing morale in the state of Israel, after losing deterrence. And first time, I think Jews in the United States and Jews in Israel walked tall after 1973, after the Yom Kippur War. Suddenly, we got again the feeling of competence, of ability, the confidence which we lost in Yom Kippur War. And that was important. That was great pride for our people, also for free people, for the democracies all over the world. That was also a combination of the 200th anniversary of the United States and the great joy here in Israel. For us, the soldiers, that was a very unique mission to fly 4,000 kilometers and participate in this short battle, but very important. And the symbol of hostages, as you started this conversation about the friendship circle, again, it's about commitment. What is friendship circle? What is comradeship? It's about the commitment among ourselves. What is a commitment? Commitment is a kind of contract, a psychological contract among ourselves, among our society, unwritten contract. What are we ready to do one for another in crisis time? So I was lucky to be the first Israeli soldier to land in Entebbe. and also the last to leave the Entebbe airfield. I was lucky to stay alive. We lost Yoni Netanyahu, commander of Sayeret Matkal, the brother of Bibi Netanyahu, our prime minister. He was a friend. I did the special operation in Syria together with Yoni in April 21, 1974, 2 years earlier to the operation. We had a mission to bring a pilot, Israeli pilot, who was crashed inside Syria. And we had a mission to bring him back, and also to capture a Syrian position and destroy some of the tractors and bulldozer in Mount Hermon. So we were friends, and flying back to Israel, knowing that when we flew to Entebbe, we were together. He was in the Mercedes, I was under the Mercedes. We landed first, one Mercedes and two Land Rover Jeeps. Remembering the handshake of Yoni before landing, moving from soldier to soldier, shaking hands, hugging, and then flying back, and Yoni is not anymore. Yoni was killed in operation. The thinking again about the fragility of life, about our essence, about our readiness to sacrifice ourselves, about this commitment, as we always say, to be ready to give our life for the only Jewish state in the world, for our people, for saving hostages, for saving other people. Also, 3 of the hostages were killed in a fire exchange in the first minutes of the operation. Another hostage was killed by Idi Amin, the president of Uganda at that time, Dora Bloch. She was hospitalized a few days before the operation. And after Idi Amin, president of Uganda, heard about the operation, he killed her. So we lost 4 hostages who were killed. Yoni Netanyahu, another friend of mine, Ershko Surin, got bullet in his head. He's still alive, he's in a wheelchair. And every year, July 4, around July 4, we meet again in the memorial service for Yoni Netanyahu in Mount Herzl in Jerusalem, in the military cemetery. But I think what is not less important is about hostages. Think, what is hostage? What does it mean being hostage? Hostage means we are dependent in other people's power. Maybe we have a threat to lose our life. But sometimes disabled people are fully dependent in other people's power, and disabled people are a kind of hostage in our society. And sometimes dependent people have no power to speak. Some of them in coma, some of them after stroke, unable to say a word. Some of them born, like our son, Iran, with brain damage. So the metaphor of hostage is not only belonging to a very courageous military operation in Entebbe. As a matter of fact, it's about our daily matter in respect of disabled people. Maybe people who suffer aging, people in nursing home. So psychologically, being hostage is something at our hand. It's something which is testing us, testing our values, testing the comradeship, testing the friendship circle. Do we remember those in institute, in those in nursing home, those who are suffering some disease, maybe COVID-19, those who are unable to do anything by their power? And are we ready right now to do something to assist, to do something to show love and empathy, to give them the feeling that they are part of our friendship circle. They are part of our community.
You know, Doron, that ability to take from life's experience and to say, I'm going to take the values that I've learned and move it forward. Be it from seeing people kept hostage, be it from your brother, is a beautiful defining piece in your life. Let's now go to your second Eran, to your son, who, in your words, in many ways was hostage to these disabilities with which he was born. Can you share with us what it was like when you and Didi became aware of who he was and what his special needs were? And just take us through the feelings that you had and what you encountered and where that took you.
So our son, our second child, Eran, born 11 years after the Yom Kippur War. For Didi and me, that was only natural to give him the name of my brother. By the way, you see on here, you see this is the picture of my brother, Eran, 20 years old. And here underneath, this is his ID tag. This is his ID tag from his last battle, ID tag that's still staying with the Golan Heights soil and a part of his blood here on this ID tag. And this is a song that was written specially for him by a famous poet in Israel, Chaim Hefer, who wrote about the young soldiers who gave their life for our country. And I found a picture of my brother just above the table of Chaim Hefer when I visited him when he passed away. There is dedication for my brother, for me, from Chaim Hefer on this poem. So our second child was born 1984 when I was dealing with operation in Sudan to bring Jews from the Sudani desert, from Ethiopia, Jews who were at risk, at danger. We gave him the name of my brother, and as parents, we hope that he would be better than us, more successful, more talented, a source of pride. This is it's so natural Jewish mother and father dream, the parent dream, that the child will be a source of pride, continue the legacy of the family. As a matter of fact, from the first month, we saw something wrong. You click before his face and no reaction, no blinking. And at the end, after 8 months, at the end of a series of tests, he was diagnosed after MRI, and a psychologist faced Didi and me and told us, your son is having a combination of autism and retardation. That's what, this is the specific word. She didn't say the same, but she said retardation. She said, I believe he will never say a word. I believe he will permanently stay at the age of 3 or 4 months. That was a shock. I don't wish any parents in the world to be announced on such diagnosis. Didi started crying. She immediately understood what's the meaning. And then the first 2 years was about a huge ongoing debate between Didi and me, how to continue managing our life if our son has no future at all. If he won't be graduated of kindergarten, nothing. I think after 2 years, we saw him smiling. It was something like he's asking us, my dear parents, are you ready to give up the high dream that one day I will be something, a rabbi, a professor, a judge, a lawyer, engineer, Nobel Prize winner, whatever. My dear parents, sorry, I won't be anything of your dream. But are you ready, my dear parents, to give up the high dream and to be satisfied only on one small smile? That's all. That's what I ask you, my dear parents. I think the first time we saw him smiling, I told Didi, look, he's independent. He got something inside. He's smiling because there's some cognition. He understands something. Because, you know, laughter is the ability to make A plus B plus C, and then suddenly you understand something which make you smile. It's a part of our cognition. So it's like saying, my dear parents, it's up to you. You may keep yourself disappointed, keep yourself frustrated, keep yourself painful. But my dear parents, I prefer you to see my smile. And I'm asking you, are you ready to live for this smile? Only for one small thing, to raise a smile to my face. I think that was at the age of 2 years, and we decided to keep the sorrow and the frustration, to keep, Rabbi Ezri, to keep it here, behind our back, the frustration and sorrow, to keep it here. And to put here in front of us, try to put a hope. That's what we decided. We decided to, at first, to create a hope for ourselves, to make him happy. We decided never to be ashamed, never close him behind the walls and fence of shame and stigma. Never hide him. Tell our friends, tell our society, tell our friendship circle. Tell them we have disabled child. Tell them our child will never be something. Our child won't be graduated of kindergarten. Our child probably will never speak, will never have bar mitzvah, will never get married, but he is our son. He is blood from our blood, flesh from our flesh, bone from our bone. We are committed for him. He is the weakest in our society. We'll fight for him. We'll try to give him the best life standard. And that's it. You know, when he was 4 years old, I was the paratrooper brigade commander. There is only one paratrooper brigade in the Israel Defense Forces, very famous in standing military. There is 6 in reserve, but standing, only one brigade. And only one commander became the commander of the para brigade. So I think first time when I was asked to give interview as the commander of the para brigade, I said, yes, I'm ready. But this interview is not about using power and using military and killing terrorists. This interview is going to be about my 4 years child, Iran. And first time I told the Israeli public about what does it mean being severely brain damaged, severely disabled, fully dependent in our compassion. And then I continue military service. Didi, my wife, continue being teacher and principal, studying, teaching. Genius students from Russia. As you remember, about 1 million newcomers from Russia arrived to the state of Israel in 1991. And Didi was a teacher and principal of high school with genius. All the students were genius. But from one side, she was the teacher of genius. From the other side, at home, we had our daughter, Nitzan, the elderly daughter. She's a PhD, she's a doctor, she's very smart, dedicated her life for this, also for disabled. But 5 years after her, our second child, Iran, fully dependent in our power. While raising him, we moved all over Israel to find a decent institute for him. We asked the social worker in our hometown, Rishon LeZion, we asked where these people, where these children are kept. She gave us a list of institute. We moved from institute to institute. You open the door and then you got a blow of stink at your face. And then you see distorted faces of children who are afraid from the world. And shameful staff, shameful workers, abandoned, neglected places. We came home crying. We said to our social worker, our son, our prince will never be stationed in such institute. When he was 13, first time, we built a house for him in Gedera. It named Bet Iran, for the memory of my brother, for the memory of his uncle. 9 years he was in Bet Iran in Gedera. That was our first initiative for creating a new hope for disabled children. That was our first experience before building Ale Negev. Later, Nachalat Iran. We lived in Ale Negev 1 year and 1 month and passed away in February 7, 2007. And then we changed the name at that time. First time we changed from Ale Negev to Nachalat Iran, Iran's property. And now we changed again, but the essence is the most important. The essence is about loving the disabled. The essence is about the test of disabled in our life, the test of those who really need us every single second in their life. This is the most important. That's about the friendship circle commitment. That's about the oath and the DNA of our people. I want to tell you another thing before your next question. It's about the shame and stigma. We found that many Israelis, many parents, unable to share the simple fact that they have a disabled child. And we found, shockingly, we found that many parents left their son or daughter in institute and never shared with the other children, with the sibling, with their neighbors. You are in the United States, you know, we had a great prime minister named Golda Meir, a woman. Long time before, in the United States, there never been woman president, but in Israel, there was prime minister, woman, Golda Meir, very fluent English speaker. most of her life, she was raised in Milwaukee in the United States. Golda has never said one word on Meira, a granddaughter. The granddaughter was Down syndrome. And Golda told Rivka, her daughter-in-law, you never mentioned the Prime Minister of Israel having retarded granddaughter. So Golda never shared the secret. That was a family secret. But Meira gave interview after Golda passing. The Down syndrome Meira, granddaughter of Golda Meir, gave interview. She was fluently speaker. And she was married also to a guy named Yossi in Kfar Tikva. Kfar Tikva, village of hope, north of Israel, like Aleneged. She was living in Village of Hope. That was the name of the village. And she gave interview after Golda passing. She said to the Israeli public, Golda didn't love me. Golda never visited me. Golda told my mom to never mention the Prime Minister of Israel having retarded granddaughter. It's all written, all well known. She passed away. Meira passed away 2 years ago. And then another, there was in Israeli media, another scandal when the other sibling demanded the will, the property of Meira. Very ugly. But the most important, she was left behind walls of shame and stigma. I'm sorry to say that in our Jewish country, the only Jewish state in the world, what we found, Didi, my wife and me, we found a society that giving legitimacy to continue keeping these children behind walls of shame and stigma, keeping these children in closed institute, which sometimes were worse than jail, worse than jail. And every time when we get back from visiting some of the institute, it was like our beloved son, Iran, shouting from inside, my dear father, what a shame, this is the only Jewish state. My dear father, you remember that 6 million Jews were killed because of discrimination. You remember the racist ideology of Hitler? Do you remember that the first to be killed were children like me by Hitler order? T for Aktia, T for Action, signed by Hitler September 1st, 1939. And shifting the psychiatric centers all over Germany to small concentration camps, gather the disabled, the retarded, and kill them by small gas chambers. So my child, who has never said one word, never said Abba, never made eye contact, shouting from inside, my dear father, this is the only Jewish state. What is your commitment? What is one for all for one? What is social responsibility? My dear father, are you ready to make a place, to make a room for me and children like me? And the only Jewish state in the world. Oh, my dear father, are you rather willing to take children like me, put them in some institute overseas, in Germany or Switzerland or England, and never tell the public about them? What do you think, are you? Oh, my dear father, do you remember the Yom Kippur War? When your brother was killed, do you remember why it was happened? Because you were arrogant. You didn't count, you said the Arabs are nothing after 67 war. You said the military orchestra will conquer the Arabs. They're afraid they will never go to a war. You underestimated them. You were intoxicated by the greatest victory of 67, my dear father. But my dear father, to discriminate children like me, it's the same arrogance. So take in account.
You know, Doron, I think many of us who are on the call, especially parents, feel the same call to our soul in terms of the Jewish community here in America to overcome the shame and stigma and to confront it. And I know programs starting to lift that veil, and rabbis like myself are starting to lift up the same questions, because we are called upon to create places of love. And I have to tell you, when I'm at Ale Negev Nachalat Iran, it is a piece of Gan Eden. It is a piece of holy ground where there's love and dignity, where our children are fought for, where they are provided for with the best of everything. And I would really love for everyone here to hear a little bit more about what happens at Ale Negev Nachalat Iran, about the spirit, about the programs, about the philosophy that drives it.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Ale Negev Nachalat Iran is a society of harmony. We have, right now, we have 500 workers, but among the 500, about 100 are Muslims. We have children from the Muslim community. There is no difference between people from the Muslim community, from the Jewish community. We have also Christians from Europe. We have Christians from Berlin. We have grandchildren from the Nazis family who killed Jews. And these volunteers from Germany, Christians from Germany, they say we volunteer for atonement. Atonement on the 6 million Jews who were killed by our grandparents. Atonement on the Tifo Actia. And they come and say, we are all human beings. And we are equal by our rights. The disabled, those who are fully power, yes, we are all equal. But we are equal by our rights. We are not equal by our power. Those who have power and independence need to assist those who are helpless. And this is a kind of commitment of our society. That's again, the same values of friendship circle, humanitarian values. So I'm very happy that we achieved such a paradise in Ale Negev. On a nutshell, I want to tell you what we right now are doing. We are building the first rehabilitation hospital in south of Israel, and we expand our services to all the Negev population. What does it mean? You know, the number of disabled children from orphan disease is very small, very small. Orphan disease, the definition of orphan disease is about 5,000 from 7.5 billion people. But rehabilitation is needed for about 20% of population. All of a sudden, sport accident, road accident, stroke, cancer, COVID-19, and we need communication therapy, physiotherapy, hydrotherapy, music therapy, and so on. So we have a contract with the all Israeli HMOs, and we have a contract with the Israeli Ministry of Defense for giving rehabilitation for soldiers who are serving in south of Israel, who are fighting in Gaza, for instance. So in the same swimming pool in Ale Negev, you may find a Bedouin child, you may find a soldier, you may find a doctor from Ben Gurion University or from Stanford University in the United States, all of a sudden having accident, and they are together. Together, the swimming pool or the hydrotherapy center is not only a physical place, but also it's a metaphor of being together, a kind of friendship circle. So we do rehabilitation. We also raise another flag, the flag of inclusion. In the last year, we started a new workshop, taking lightly disabled people, qualify them to work in high-tech or farming. We qualify people to Flextronic and Intel, constructing a small electronic circuits. We qualify people for agriculture and farms in Israel. We want to see growing numbers of disabled people who are integrated in normal community. So we do qualify people for farming, for electronic, for cooking. We teach people to be chefs and to open restaurants and cook for people, and art also, painting, recycling papers, things like that. Okay. We also have an education program, Tikkun Olam, we call it Tikkun Olam, with the Ministry of Education in Israel. 20,000 students this year. Unfortunately, the COVID-19 limitation right now very limiting us, but at the essence is volunteering with disabled. It could be nursing home, it could be special institute for special need children, hospital, whatever. So we have a Tikkun Olam program, and we are going to build a new community for 500 families near Ale Negev. 500 families. Next year, hopefully, we'll start building the new community for 500 families. The name going to be Merchavei Daniel. Daniel was a boy, Daniel Tregerman, was killed in 2014 protective edge operation when we conducted operation in Gaza, and one of the missiles hit his home and he was killed. He was 4 years old. So the new community for 500 families near Ale Negev, walking distance from our rehabilitation hospital, will be named behind Daniel Tregerman, Merchavei Daniel. So that's a part of a new initiative, also a research center for rehabilitation, would like to be state-of-the-art technology for rehabilitation, and new kind of artificial hands, legs for those people who lost arms in accident, new simulation system for brain damaged people. Together with Johns Hopkins University in the United States, we have a contract with the Ben Gurion University, with Johns Hopkins University, and with the Weizmann Institute. So we are willing to lead the rehabilitation profession. And it's all for disabled people, to challenge ourselves to be better human beings, better people, for those who are fully dependent in our power.
Doron, it's always so exciting to hear the next plan and the sense of the vision of how else can we lift the bar in this important work, and it lifts us up. I want to ask two more questions. I know we're past our time. I appreciate everybody really so feeling blessed by your story and your vision and what's been built. You have said that Iran has been your greatest teacher. Share us more of those lessons and what else he's calling upon you to do.
As I said, Iran, our son, never said one word, never made eye contact. But he like put me in his shoes. You know, we say in our Judaism, we say never judge someone until you come to his place. Never judge someone until you come to his place. So Iran, I think number one lesson was, my dear father, don't judge me until you come to my place. So try to judge the world from my position, from my fragile position. You know, Rabbi Nat Ezri, we are speaking now today on social distancing. Stay away 2 meters distance, don't come closer, don't hug me, don't kiss me. You know, hugging is not a gesture of love. It's something we really need. And we can't survive without love. Love is the most important thing. So I think number one lesson that Iran told me, don't judge people without coming to their shoes, number one. And I think number two, he told me, my dear father, you are a soldier, you fight here, you fight there, you kill people. But my dear father, building community, building society, it's not about killing, it's about loving. It's not about social distancing, it's about hugging. It's about being there. It's about stretching a hand for the disabled. So, you know, without Iran, our son, this village will never happen. Will never happen. He changed me, he made me more sensitive person. He brought me mess of hours thinking about his position, asking me tough questions, answering tough questions, looking at myself in the mirror and asking myself about the essence of my entity. What kind of person, what kind of society, of community are we? What is the Jewish country? It's all about power. It's all about the startup nation. It's all about our wisdom. It's all about ego. It's all about showing how powerful, how smart we are. We created that startup and this amazing company, and that's outstanding technology and things like that. No, my dear father, the most important thing is the glue among yourself. The most important thing is the friendship circle. This is the most important thing. And then, you know, you may raise individual excellency as the most important. No, my dear father. Individual excellence is important. It's about more knowledge. It's about harness knowledge. But one more flag need to be raised very high. This is the social flag. This is the friendship, the comradeship. This is the oath, the commitment between ourselves as human beings, as society.
It's about remembering that it's about us and we, and not me and I. What powerful, powerful lessons. My last question is, what lessons would you ask us? What can we learn as we are part of this? You know, Friendship Circle is a small organization. So much to be constantly learning. What can we learn from Ale Negev, Nachalat Iran, and from you?
I think you are great students, and you are a great community. You facilitate the Friendship Circle. You facilitate these values before Ale Negev. You, Rabbi Nat Ezri, you understand it before you came to Ale Negev, before seeing by your own experience that there is such a paradise. So inside, I think inside you are well known, where you are well known by your reputation, but also you well know our values and what is right and wrong. You very know the right way, what you need to do in order to educate ourselves to be better community, better society. I think, you know, my story is another angle of the humanitarian approach of our values, but it's another angle. We need to continue studying one for each other, continue studying stories and tragedies, tragedies in families around us, tragedies of neighbors, of friends, family members, and asking ourselves what we need to do in order to create a hope for ourselves, a hope for them. And another question, an answer which we need to give ourselves, what kind of people are we if we say, no, I turn my back, I don't assist, I stay outside, stay behind. You're weak, stay behind. So I think you know it very, very well. You are well indoctrinating the students and the community. You do very well. I want to tell you that I'm very proud on your community, very proud. Yeah, you can't believe how much I feel inside in my heart, how much I'm proud to know you, to know the community, to know from the other side of the globe, about 15,000 kilometers away from the state of Israel, from Ale Negev. There are people, there are Jewish, there are Jews, you know, on Friday night, they do the same, they almost eat the same, they do the same prayer, but we are continue managing ourselves by the same values, the same commitment. And you worry from the other side of the globe, you worry for the disabled, for Ale Negev, and you're willing to continue teaching yourself and teaching your community and our community by showing, you may call it case study. I'm a kind of case study. So yes, we are ready to continue studying one from each other and be a better society and create a hope for ourselves. You do very well. I'm very thankful, Rabbi Nat Ezri.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And we are all
Thank you both.
thankful for you. Nancy.
Thank you, Doron. Thank you, Rabbi Ezra. Wow, I'm continually inspired by the work of, by the work of Ale Negev, by your story. I know for myself, I have taken, this is obviously not the first time I've heard you share your story, but I'm always inspired to really learn that, there's nothing to be ashamed of who we are, and our children and anybody who's perhaps, on some level different, but I'm inspired to say, no, we need to celebrate who we are and create that inclusion. So thank you very much for sharing. One of the things that was not mentioned is I know that in the that there's ways for people to volunteer at Ale Negev. I'm going to ask Avnet if you don't mind putting in the chat. I know people both can contribute and can volunteer as well. So I'm going to ask Avnet if you could put in the chat a little bit of links to that. When you're local, you can volunteer with Friendship Circle. When you're ready to go abroad, you can volunteer at Ale Negev. And I know from the little bit of time that I was there that it is life transforming. So I want to close this evening to thank you all again for your contributions, both volunteering and financial contributions. We wouldn't be able to do the work that we're doing here at Friendship Circle without you. One of the things that that I'll mention is we are right now, we just kicked off our year-end campaign where the donors are matching 3-to-1 any donation that is increased, 2-to-1 from any alumni donation, and 1-to-1 any renewed donations. So if you want you want to save yourself the headache of getting a year-end email, because I'm going to send them out, don't worry. If you want to save yourself the headache, please contribute. But this today is not really about fundraising. It's really about thanking you for all your contributions and for making Friendship Circle possible. And I wish you all a great rest of the day. And Avnet and Doron, I wish you guys a good night. And thank you again for everything.
And thanks, Avnet and the JNF, the Jewish National Fund, our strategic partner in the
Absolutely.
United States. Thank you.
Thank you. Toda rabba.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ezzy.
Please.
Bye, friends.
Laila Tov.
Laila tov.
תודה
Bye.
רבה.
Bye. Toda rabba. Thank you.
Take care, everybody.